GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
Hope you enjoyed part one of the TTRP Turnbuckle Talk Radio podcast, The Madness of Trip Takes Over. Now this is part two, continuing off part one with Trip, and also Luke Saker, who was on the road with us, going to ACWA in PA. Hope you enjoyed part two. And at the end of the two here, it is the interview that was conducted back in April when the TTRP was in the early stages of its existence. WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk.
Towards the end, I got scared. But
that was a bad trip.
That's never a bad trip.
I'm the best trip in town, bitches.
Bitches. We're gonna have to get Luke Saker on at another time because we're probably already way past an hour.
Oh, fuck that.
It's an hour and 15 minutes right now.
Look at that.
You know
cool.
what?
You know what? Then it's a two-parter. Let's keep going.
How are you gonna just two-part my?
You said takeover. You said a takeover. It's a takeover.
Damn.
Two-parter.
Okay. I'll two-parter.
I'm the crazy guy, and I'm driving. It's a two-parter.
I was actually going to make the suggestion we might as well make it a two-parter.
I'll two-parter.
See, that's why he's a gangster.
Was that the spit roast joke?
Not a fucking gangster. He's fucking scared out of his damn mind right now.
Was that a spit
Hold on,
roast
is this a
joke?
clip?
Huh?
Give me a second. I'm kidding.
Listen. I'm the fucking producer. If I want a two-parter, I'll make it a fucking two-parter.
Hold on, Patchy. Hold on a second. Hold on. Because it sounded like you just raised your voice to me.
Don't make me turn this car around while I'm going over 70 miles an hour.
That won't end very well.
I'll be fine.
Oh, goodness. Alright, so I guess by the powers that be, Trip driving, threatening us to drive over a damn cliff, and Pat G trying to be a real gangster right now.
Hey, we're in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of hills and cliffs, bro.
I guess we're a two-parter then. So this is going to be part one.
Technically, we're already into part two if we're an hour 15 in.
Yeah, that's true. So at some point in time, we'll break it up.
I am done with the takeover. If you want to actually do your journalistic thing and ask questions now, I'm good to answer whatever you got to say. See, I'm calm now. I got that out.
I see that. Well, Luke Saker.
Yes.
Tell me how you feel at this moment in time at wrestling as a whole with Western New York. Right now there's only one company at this moment in time in Western New York?
Yep.
MFW is in the area, but in the area of Western New York,
Well, technically you can go three. If you include Rochester all the way over.
Not including Rochester right now.
Okay, then no.
Because in Western New York there was OSPW, there was River City Riverworks, there was ESW,
BCW.
There was BCW. Did I say MFW yet?
No, MFW.
MFW. So there was wrestling in the area.
And at one point there was also NEW Niagara.
NEW Niagara did. They only came twice. Was it 2 times? 3 times? 3 shows?
4 shows.
Was it 4?
4 shows.
I was part of them.
I remember I was part of 2 of them. I think
there were 4 shows. Bruce had the book for 3. I had the book for 1.
Yeah. Was I a part of all 4? I know I was part of 2 of them.
I think you were part of the last 2.
Because I won the Battle Royal. Because I sold the most tickets.
Yep.
Yay. Tickets. So,
actually, no, you didn't sell the most tickets.
Yeah. What is she talking about? She just automatically came on and just was like, anyway. I feel like CLW now. Recording something and then the damn phone goes off. Well, we're not recording on the phone. It's a podcast, baby.
Woo! So, LeCain, before we got sidetracked again with interrupting GPS. This is your show-ish. Take it away.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about wrestling as a whole within Western New York right now?
I think it's dying out very rapidly, basically. Just by what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing. Even ESW crowds I heard was dwindling. It wasn't where it was maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's been going on lately with Riverworks and you got OSPW closing. I mean, that's why I'm kind of going out to Albany. I'm going to Pennsylvania. I'm trying to keep contacts open, trying to get more contacts, trying to get onto my own feet as much as I can. And try to get out there more because I don't trust Western New York wrestling at the current time.
Okay. I mean,
that's an honest statement.
That is an honest statement.
I can support that.
But I feel as though Western New York wrestling is about to flourish right now because there's only 2 major companies in the area. There's MFW and there's ESW.
See, with that statement, I feel that with those 2 companies, there's still a gap. While they can give quality matches, they each have their own respective crowds. Part of the crowds, probably, I believe, travel between the 2.
Right.
There's still a gap in between them that OSPW has now left. Now, OSPW Light, Nickel Shitty, whatever you want to call it, the Shadowcat show, is not going to be able to fill that gap. Can't fill those shoes, not at his height.
Well, let me stop you there. And the reason why I'm stopping you there, I feel, is though because it's a gap for the workers, not for the fans. It's a gap that workers can't get work now because OSPW is gone. However, the fans now can save money and spend more money at these 2 shows.
See, I'm still going to agree to disagree because, Buffalo is a wrestling city.
Right.
Buffalo has its roots in wrestling.
Okay.
Now, granted, there are several workers from the Western New York area, specifically Buffalo, that work for ESW, MFW, but there's still that gap. You're talking 45 minutes north or 45 minutes south. That leaves a gap in the city and its immediate suburbs. I think one of the biggest things that OSPW made a mistake on was getting out of the actual city of Buffalo. I think that was a mistake. And I feel that, one of those 2 feds that's around right now could completely capitalize on that.
They could.
Probably should.
They could.
Well, see, they may not want to, may not need to. They're both in their own area. They both own their own area. That goes without saying. There's no way a new fed can come to Niagara Falls, the Lockport area, and do what ESW does and draw a crowd.
Well, doesn't ESW promote IWF in Rockport?
I believe so.
Doesn't ESW, they run...
It's as far as IWF goes, ESW doesn't promote them. The powers that be at IWF have made a joint partnership with ESW to where they rent ESW's ring. And
so they have a business arrangement.
Yeah, they have a business arrangement.
Okay. So IWF and ESW are in bed together.
Yeah.
ESW runs in North Tonawanda. ESW runs in Olean.
Yeah, they have the show in Olean.
Right. Olean, same thing.
They do their big shows, in
Lockport. So right now, the next big step, I feel, is for ESW to enter into Buffalo.
I agree.
Or someone to take that advantage, because there is no wrestling in Buffalo.
Right.
You have a lot of fans from Buffalo that drive to North Tonawanda.
Yep.
To watch wrestling. You have a lot of fans that drive from Buffalo to Dunkirk and that area to watch wrestling.
Yep.
Not a lot, but you have some. Right now, you have those fans that were at the old place that have no wrestling to go to. You got your BCW fans that have no wrestling to go to. And you have the Riverworks fans that have no wrestling to go to. With this new company starting, unfortunately, some fans are going to jump on it to see how it is. Okay?
See, I hope. I'm not going to discourage a fan from going to see a show. I'm not going to discourage a fan from going to see, an independent show. I'm not going to discourage a fan from going to see some of my boys that are working for said new fed.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that. I don't like the fact that, this clown, this jabroni in the business is going to be making money off of these fans. I don't support that. But I feel that during the times where my decisions when it came to booking were overruled, or said individual was making decisions to better himself, I feel that that's going to be the staple for how his business acumen is going to be portrayed through his company. Mm-hmm. And with that, it's going to self-destruct.
Do you guys want to do a prediction and give it a time frame as to how long it's going to take?
Nope. The reason I refuse to give any kind of predictions, make a gentleman's bet, any kind of thing on how long it's going to take is I don't care. I don't care. Well, I'm not going to check out the fan site. I'm not going to look at results. I'm not going to see how people's matches went when they work. Again, some of the boys that are working there, they're my friends. Mm-hmm. They're the boys. I support them in what they do. And I can't support... I'm sorry. I'm against professional business abortions.
And the thing is, me and Pat G are kind of put in the middle of that. Because of the steps that I've taken, which have probably gotten me taken off the roster. I don't know. Maybe not. I haven't spoke to the promoter or booker since the time we spoke. But we're kind of stuck because Turnbuckle Talk Radio is a wrestling podcast. Mm-hmm. So, journalistically, they haven't done anything wrong to us. So we have to give it its due.
I'm going to backpedal to something that we mentioned earlier. Business is business.
Right.
I understand that. Go and do business. I completely support doing business. When you told me that you weren't coming to get that last OSPW, to the last OSPW show, when you told me that you were going to take a paid booking, you asked me not to say anything, and you asked for my advice. I said you have to make the better business decision regardless of personal feelings. Mm-hmm. Business is business, and if someone takes a business decision personally, that's their fucking problem, not yours.
Yep.
Point blank, period.
I learned that the hard way.
Do you want to tell them about it, or do you want me to tell them about it?
Yeah, you tell about it.
I talk too much.
We've heard way too much of Trip's voice already.
Damn right you have.
Long story short,
Too late.
I can put it this way, is there was a setup for a match between me and Venomous at the time, and we had the back and forth razzing, trying to hype up the match, and it got too vulgar for our younger crowd that goes to OSPW, the family
I remember
event.
that.
And it got too vulgar for our younger crowd, or any of our our fans that are always diehard fans that come that might not be into that. So you got to keep it PG in this era. So,
well, let me touch on that. OSPW was a family-friendly show, period. Mm-hmm. And you guys went well beyond being family-friendly.
I'm going to stop you right there and say this: I didn't get too vulgar.
No, you didn't.
I did not. But the one that did was Venomous. Okay? And what he did...
His screws aren't too tight anyway.
Well, what happened was, when that happened, I had a disagreement with Joe because he ended up screenshotting it, putting it on the workers page.
Yes.
Because my name, Venomous's name, and my girl Brittany's name was on it. And it was just kind of throwing our business out there instead of coming back to talk to us. We had a problem. And while he was trying to explain to me the right way to do business, I took it personally and I didn't let it go. Mm-hmm. I honestly, at this point, have no idea what was going on in my mind at that point. I think at that time, I'm still getting over this, trying to get my own feelings out of the way when I'm going towards a business. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn that the hard way. And that's literally one of the key things that dropped me from society in the beginning.
Okay.
That's one of the things leading down that road. And afterwards, I came up to Joe, shook his hand, apologized, and within a couple minutes of talking, we were right back to being as friendly as we were before. As if nothing had happened. I took it as a learning opportunity. He saw it as a learning opportunity, saw that I learned, and went on with his business.
Yeah, and then after a few months, I brought you on the road again.
Exactly. So when people say that they have heat with somebody,
Bury it. Just fucking bury it. Confront them about it and bury it.
exactly. If you have a beef with somebody and you don't do something somewhere because of said beef, why not talk to the person in the first place, air everything out, do what you gotta do business-wise to make it a civil environment. And when you have said civil environment, everything can flourish better instead of having all that tension that bring in the locker room and, like you said before, bring the morale down.
Mm-hmm.
Why not bury everything outside of the doors?
But you know what? You know what that's called, Luke Kane? You know what that's called?
But
That's called being an adult.
It's also called being a professional.
And
Because let's face
professional,
it.
but pro wrestlers aren't that.
Well, no. Let's face it. We're a bunch of half-naked, sweaty men covered in baby oil, trying to pin each other in prone position. So we're comparable to softcore homosexual S&M, or we're roughhousing with our friends.
I use water because I'm a flyer and people have to catch me. So I don't use oil.
Okay. I think.
I use beard oil.
Beard oil.
Yeah, it makes me smooth. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Fat G, you still awake back there?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Producing.
He's a producer, remember?
Like, Fat G has been quiet as hell this whole entire time.
Well, I think he's been listening to everything we've talked about business. Now, Pat G has been newer to the business, and he hasn't had to deal with all of the politics, but he's been in the political crosshairs. So, hey Pat, chime in. What political crosshairs or what things did you do wrong? Because I heard your podcast, and like I did, off the air, I complimented you on some of the things that you said. But if you're inclined, you want to cite some examples?
You know what? I've said that I tried to over-impress people on the last one that may have rubbed people the wrong way. And I know that's been the biggest complaint from everyone. And even I've had people pull me aside and say, this is what you've done wrong. So I've been trying to fix it. I'm going to cite one, and you know what? An MFW went down, worked 2 shows. The second show, unfortunately, because I was on my own to a degree, I made the mistake of trying to act like I actually knew shit, and I didn't. Because
Self-admittance. Bravo. Most people don't do that.
The other person that was there, that was the official, looked at me and said, "Oh, I only do this part-time. I don't really know anything." And the senior official at the time that for MFW wasn't there. So I tried to take it as an opportunity in bad taste to show that I actually could maybe show a little bit of smartness and be like, hey, I can help in a way. And I did. And I rubbed people the wrong way. It got back to the promoter. And since then, I've talked to the promoter twice. I thought the issue was squashed. I was wrong. So I'm going to say this. If at some point the owner, promoter of MFW does hear this, I apologize. It's not my intention to suggest stuff. I took it upon myself as trying to act like I knew something when I didn't.
So, self-admittance to a problem and an apology, that takes a lot more balls and guts compared to some people in our business and in our area. Oh, yeah.
Fact.
I say some, not all. Not all.
So, I'm hoping at some point, because there was a situation where somebody that worked for MFW reached out to me, and everybody the people that were planned kind of bailed the last minute. But because of my personal relationship and my past mistakes, it hurt me to where I was a last resort. I don't want to be a last resort to anybody. I know I'm decent and I can improve, But it wasn't until just recently, within the last month and a half, that I went, you know what? Kind of realized my mistakes. I need to fix them.
See,
So
you did that in a shorter time than I did. I got punished a lot my first couple of years. I was made the example of. Oh yeah.
Well,
Trust me,
you know what?
exactly
I will
you're talking
say
about.
this. I will say this. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But where I started with no training, no nothing. Got thrown in and kind of learned on the fly at BCW.
How did you get into BCW? Why did you start to train at BCW?
Chris Gullo invited me to the show because at the time I was just producing Turnbuckle Talk when it was on WB&Y. And he said, hey, come to the show, and came to one show, kind of introduced myself to everybody, and then from there on out, it was like, hey, I'm going to use you as a ref. Do you know at least the general basics? I was like, yeah, I do. And from there on out, it was pretty much everybody kind of teaching me things along the way, but I had no initial training whatsoever. At all.
Oh.
I spent 3.5 years at BCW, maybe close to 4, before I was actually decent enough to be like, okay, cool, I can do this. And then that's when I met Gabriel Soul. And Gabriel Soul kind of took me under his wing, and I've gotten better. Do I still have room to improve? Oh, yes.
Oh, we all do.
Have I made mistakes? Yeah. It wasn't until over the last 4 or 5 months that I've realized them completely. Now I'm owning up to it, and I'm like, okay, I need to get better.
You know what's funny is talking about where we started. You guys mentioned JC Money earlier. When I went to my first indie wrestling show, it was NEW in the what is that big?
The Armory?
Armory, yeah. I was there, and the first face I saw coming through the crowd with his title was JC Money. After a match, he walked through the crowd to get out of there, backing away with his title in his hands. It was his face that I first saw at an indie wrestling show. And then during intermission, I ended up talking to none other than the Spot Monkeys on where I can go to get training, and they told me where to go. And from there, 9 years later now, I'm on the road with 1.5 of the Spot Monkeys. Actually, almost 10 years in February.
Damn, aren't you like 6 though? 7?
No, he's just built like one.
Oh, okay. Just looks like a 7-year-old. Okay.
Except
I guess the beard gives me away.
yeah, his quasi Duck Dynasty beard going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the thing with pro wrestling. I mean, and
One thing.
There's so many other things.
Yeah.
You're always learning. Always learning. And it's like Flair said, you know, if you feel as though you've learned everything in the business,
Get out.
get the hell out of the business. You know, because you're always learning. Like, you're always learning something.
One of the things, and Soul, you can attest to this, one of the things that I always preach is you never stop being a student.
Right. You know, it's something that Terry Funk said. Let me pick that name up. I'm sorry. That when I interviewed Terry Funk, me and Pat G interviewed Terry Funk. Oh, there it is again. Let me pick that up for a third time.
Man, you dropped that last one on my water. That's not cool.
My bad. But, you know...
Now my water's all funky.
Now my water's all funky. You know, he clearly said that, you know, the business is changing, but it's not as hard to get into the business anymore.
It's not hard at all if you got the money.
No, I mean, but he's saying that because kayfabe isn't dead, and I mean, he talks so much about it, and we're probably gonna play. You know what, Patsy? Let's on this finish up the 2-parter. Let's finish off with the Terry Funk interview.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna give you the Terry Funk interview finally.
After months and months of trying to fix it and make it as good as possible, You know what? Just to preface it, it was in the early days of the TTRP.
Before we got the microphone.
Before we got the proper equipment, so the quality is not the greatest in the world.
Because Pat G thought it was.
I thought it would have worked. It didn't, obviously. My mistake. But it's Terry Funk, and at least you can hear him.
Yeah.
And you can kind of make out the questions we were asking him, or just kind of put two and two together based on Terry Funk's responses.
Yeah. But, I mean, like I said, you're always learning. You always are. And that's my 2 cents.
I'm going to go back. To finish this off as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go back to something I said many times concerning OSPW. They announced their farewell tour, their last 3 shows.
Is it really a tour if they stay at the same place?
No, we went to 2 places.
Is it really a tour if you go to the same places that you've been to?
We should have gone to St. Stan's again.
They're fairly well last 3 shows, whatever you want to call it, okay?
They call it a tour.
They call it a tour, fine. But I'm gonna say this. They went out the way they wanted to go out.
No, they didn't.
Because of bad business.
No, they went out the way Shadow wanted it to go out.
Yeah.
That's true.
They did
the
not.
Promoter just rolled over and said,
Take it.
Ease it in slowly, please.
I said, I was like, do you want to maintain the status quo, or do you want to go out and cement your legacy as positive as you can? And due to whatever decisions were made, they went out on their back and went out horribly.
No, OSPW was in the ground. NCW pissed on it. And because of that decision, every person that ever worked for OSPW was forced to go out on their back, regardless of the outcome of their matches that night. That's what happened.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with it, not sorry. Because while I could say it on this podcast, I'm pretty sure I said it to everyone's faces the night that it happened.
Yep.
Hashtag good brother.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a podcast right there, man.
Yeah.
Technically, that's 2.
No, 1 podcast, 2 parts.
Shut up, okay?
At least you stopped calling me Stitches.
I did. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. I mean, this has been the Trip Podcast. Tune in next week for the Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast, where we talk about stuff that we want to talk about.
Big thank you to Pat G. G stands for Gangsta, Gabriel Soul, for letting me rant and rave as much as possible. I still have more to say, so I might be back, or I might go to the parent company and talk to Mr. JC Money at Gear Network and maybe just do something exclusive and get everybody included on that, because there's still a lot more to say, because there's still a lot that people don't know.
So for Gabriel Soul, Pat G, the G stands for Gangster, Luke Kane Saker,
Thank you.
Trip, the Madness One.
Madness of.
Madness of? Madness One? Madness
No,
Alice?
Madness of Trip.
Atlas Madness?
No, Alice.
Wonder Penis?
No, Alice didn't fall down the rabbit hole yet.
Okay. For Trip, I am Gabriel Soul again, and that's the TTRP, baby. Cyclone!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cyclone Jones, and I am with Pat G. The G stands for Gangster. And remember, the TTRP is sponsored by the Gear Network store through Amazon. If you visit shopgear.com, it's a little bit different. That's shop, GERE.com, and click on any of the banners. It will take you right to your account, and you can do all your Amazon shopping there.
Following interview was with a legendary wrestling icon. And in the early days of the TTRP, as me and Gabriel Soul were on the road at a seminar in Asheboro, North Carolina, we got to sit down with WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk. Now, the interview, while it is really good in principle, the audio is not the best in the world. I hope you enjoy the interview. You can listen to it and make the best of it as to what we're saying, what Terry Funk is saying. But just the fact that we were able to sit down with Terry Funk alone and pick his brain for 10 minutes was a mind-blowing experience. I hope you guys sit back and enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back. Turnbuckle Talk Radio. This is your host, Gabriel Soul, along with the producer, the man, the gangster, Pat G.
Yes, we are back. Granted, not on the radio airwaves anymore, but still on the airwaves nonetheless. And we are here with a special guest.
WWE legend, Hall of Famer, Mr. Terry Funk. Terry, sir, Mr. Funk, thank you for joining us. I truly appreciate it. I mean, this is honestly an honor to be sitting next to you, talking to you, interviewing you.
Well, it works. It's a two-way street. You know, I'm sitting here with a couple of outlaws for sure.
you don't know that. Maybe you talk yet, so you can't be an outlaw unless you talk.
Yes, that's right. I guess that's right.
Well, sir, we're going to do a quick interview with you, and like I said, I truly appreciate it. We're just going to jump into the meat and potatoes of it. What I wanted to talk to you about was respect. And how the business has changed from respect to when you were being trained and coming up in the business to what you see now after the business, and you see the young kids coming up in respect. And when I say respect, I mean how you were trained, the things that were done to you, for you, about, you know, how you broke into the business compared to how a lot of the kids now, I say kids because sometimes they act like children, how kids now are being treated in the business and how they're getting into it easily sometimes.
I'm not sure that it's. I think it might be harder. It's so much harder to get into the business, if that makes any sense to you. The reason it's so much harder is because there's only one place to get into the business, and that's. But it's changing now. But that was New York. That was Vince McMahon. That was the WWE. But you're seeing things kind of loosen up and expand a bit more. The wrestling world is coming back as far as territories are concerned, and successful places where guys can go and make themselves somewhat of a living. They're not going to starve to death anymore. They can go out and make a living in the wrestling business. Somewhat. And it's going to loosen up and get better all the time. That's what I believe.
Okay. So when you were coming up, what were some of the things that taught you the respect of the business now?
Well, it was totally a different business whenever I came up. You know, my father was a professional wrestler, and you know, as it was very different. They considered it no entertainment, and anybody that said it was entertainment was going to be contested. You know, and that's really the truth. I remember one time I was in a restaurant with my mother and father and my brother, and we were sitting there, and there wasn't room enough for us to sit at the table where the adults were. And this one guy walked up to me and he says, "You can tell me that wrestling is fake." And I said, it's not fake. My father's real. He said, your father is a faker. And my brother got up and left. Dory got up and left. He was only about 11. I mean, here's an idiot adult asking me that. And I'm 8 years old and 9 years old, you know. And my father went ahead and my brother went and told my father that this guy was bothering he and I, Junior and I. And my father came up there, and that's the first time I ever saw somebody get the shit beat out of him. And that's exactly what happened. Is he got the shit beat out of him, and my father showed him at wrestling was quite real at that time. But it was still, that's what it was. So at the time, that's the way it was. That was the conception of wrestling. You had to protect it, otherwise it would die.
Right.
It's going to die if you don't protect it. Well, we found out that's not true. If you suspend disbelief, it's going to be okay.
Right.
But that's the truth, and I've even back then, as whenever I was a young man, I would go to the wrestling arenas, all over the country, and Florida to Georgia to Texas to everywhere, and my father would go ahead and say they'd have a deal where they say, "Would you like to be a wrestler?" And everybody would get up and come up there, and then it was a thing where whenever I was even a young man, we used to actually beat all of those people up. I don't think it was really a good thing, and I don't think it was bad, but I don't know how good it was, but anymore that's changed, it's changed, and it's changed for the best.
Right.
And I'm glad it's changed for the best.
Okay.
Because I'm sure one of those guys might have come along and beat the shit out of me.
Oh, please. You're a tough guy back then. You're a tough guy. Hey, nice though. So, last question. With social media being a huge buzz.
Yes, it is.
It's huge right now. You can put anything on social media, internet, Do you think the business is still protected as it was back then when you were wrestling?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think the business is totally different.
Then how can you protect it if possible?
I don't think it's a matter of protection. I just think it's a matter of having believability and suspension of disbelief. I keep on repeating that, but that's the God's honest truth. I think that's what they're doing. I think wrestling has to evolve. It has to evolve to what the fans want. Not that's the whole thing wrestling is. It's what the fans want it to be. And it's going to continue evolving. And it's never going to end evolving. And I don't know, but evolving might mean it goes back.
Right.
That can even be evolving. And I think that's, I don't think we're at that stage yet, but I think someday we'll be at it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
and we are. Look at MMA. What do you think that is?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. It's just wrestling.
To wrap up.
It's about time you talk.
I usually produce and edit. Now, during the seminar, you said Vince McMahon has loosened up.
Yeah.
What do you mean loosen up? Because you have Vince McMahon when he took over for his father, where he was but now he's loosening up. How?
Well, in the first place, whenever I say take over, he took over the entire country. And I think that we all know that. But he did loosen up, and whenever he's loosened up this past year. And how he's loosened up is he's accepting all of the independents more than what he ever did before. And he does all over because he realizes that he can't just train from one school. He realizes he has to have people from other areas so they have a different look, a different feel, a different knowledge of what they think wrestling is. And you can't have it all come from one place. And I truly agree with him. And when you're feeding the world with a product, you got to give them what they want to eat.
Absolutely. All right. Well, sir, we truly appreciate you coming on the show. Turnbuckle Talk Radio, Turnbuckle Talk Podcast, Turnbuckle Talk. Yeah, Turnbuckle Talk. Before we go, do you want to plug anything? You got a website? Do you social media?
No, the only thing that I want to plug is best show in the world. That's Turnbuckle Talk.
That's what I'm talking about. From the WWE legend himself. Thank you, sir. We truly appreciate it.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.